I'm going to make tomato and goat cheese tarts. So I've sauteed some onions and garlic in a little oil so the onions really caramelize. So I've got 1 sheet of puff pastry. Just going to unfold it onto the board. Flour the board a little bit, flour the pastry, and then just roll it out to 11 by 11 inches square. It was a miracle when I discovered puff pastry, because it always comes out right. Okay, instead of fancy equipment for cutting out tart shells, I use a saucer. It's 6 inches in diameter. Cut this with a knife. I want to make sure these still stay cold. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this little paring knife and just cut a 1/2 inch border around each of the pastries. And what that's going to do is allow the edge to puff up a little bit so it's a little more like a tart. And then I'm going to put the filling inside that edge. Don't go all the way through. You don't want to separate it. Okay, and the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to dock it, which means that I'm going to take a fork and make little holes just inside the circle. It keeps the whole thing from sort of puffing up, and I want it to stay flat like a tart. And these little holes can go all the way through. When it bakes, they'll close up. Okay, now it's time to see how the onions are doing. Oh, they're smelling fantastic. I've got 2 cups of onions and some garlic. Just saute them together in a little oil so they're just starting to caramelize. Okay, now I'm going to season it. I need some salt and pepper. A splash of white wine, give it a little more flavor. That's not good. And I'm going to add some fresh thyme. I just love that combination of onions and thyme. I use Reggiano Parmesan. It's the best Italian Parmesan, and it's really worth using. It has so much flavor. So I'm going to grate 2 tablespoons of Parmesan. Put 1 tablespoon at the bottom of each tart, and then put more on top. That should be it. So right inside the circle, so it doesn't prevent the edges from puffing up. Okay, next the onions. So a little bit of onion on each tart. I'm just going to crumble a few tablespoons of goat cheese on top of the onions. Just roughly. It's all going to melt together. It's about 1 ounce for each tart. Okay, that's the goat cheese. Next, a slice of tomato. So 1 big thick slice, about the size of the circle, about a 1/2 inch thick, right in the middle. Look how fabulous that looks. To make sure that the tomato cooks and browns nicely, I'm just going to do a little brush of olive oil on top of it. Just brush the top of the tomato. Just make sure that it cooks beautifully, since it's the major thing in the tart. Okay, the next thing is some fresh basil leaves. And now, even more Parmesan. I'm going to do vegetable peeler and big shavings of Parmesan right on the top. And what this is going to do, it's going to look like Parmesan on the top. And it'll bake right into it. It's just wonderful.